Alright, so this is my devlog for Project Horizon, my mech combat game that I made for Project 4. So we're just going to go through clip by clip and talk about each of these items on the checklist and check them off as we go. So let's start with number 1. Custom modeled mesh for a character. This is my mech that I made for this game. Here it is in Blender. And it's got at least 10 bones and the root bone. Let's go ahead and look at that. I won't count all of them, but kind of the typical upper body stuff. And then there's a few in the legs, as you can see. And then here's the root. It is animated with 2 animations. I'll show you one in Blender and the rest in Unreal. So this is the sword attack. And let's go ahead and look at Unreal. So I've got a couple that, since I'm not using animation montage, there's a ground-based version and an air-based version. I'll just look at the ground one because the only difference is that what the legs are doing. They're kind of dangling down when he's in the air. So let me, I've got that up there. So this is the first one, fire from ground. It's shooting the rifle. And then there's fly, where the legs are just kind of dangling in the air, so they just kind of wobble back and forth. Idle, the upper body just kind of rotates back and forth, scanning the environment. There's a jump with an anim notify for when to push off the ground. There's a land with the anim notify for a landing sound. And then here's that same sword attack in Unreal. So definitely more than 2. And then, like I said, I've got a state machine. Let me go to blueprints. And we'll look at the state machine. So there's kind of a lot going on here, but you can just see that I've got it. Just watch the gameplay video and you'll see how all those transition. I don't want to talk through all these because it'll make a long video, so there's that. I didn't do blend space. I just kind of focused on more other content and more of the polish with the visuals and the gameplay mechanics, just the overall feel of the game. And since I'm doing a mech game, the legs, I made them just kind of like hover along the ground. I know Armored Core does that, so that's kind of what I was thinking. Keeps it a little more simple that way so I could focus on some of the other elements of the game. So there really isn't anything that changes speed while you're playing, so I didn't need to worry about that, so I didn't go with the blend space, just to save time. User feedback in 3 different forms. Let's look at each of those one at a time. So camera shake is first. I've got that as a component on the camera. You can see here. Oh, I guess the camera shake blueprint went away, but just uses the basic Perlin noise. Oh, there it is. So yeah, just basic camera shake blueprint. And you'll see anytime that the character gets shot, the camera shakes a little bit. So sounds, I've got a lot of those, as you can see here. So I've got the background music for the level, during the briefing, kind of a key in for the conversation, like a microphone or something. Changing screens, you got that. Clicking through the text. Anytime you get hit, you have this damage buzzer. This is if you're hit by any of the lasers. This is when you're, actually I think this might be an old one, I think I use this one now. When your laser hits something, I did change the pitch on that. That's the explosions that the enemy lasers make, except they're pitched way down to make them more bassy. This is pitched down for the mech landing on the ground. I forget which one of those 2 I used. This is the lasers from the enemy turrets. This is your laser. There's a little intro on the level that kind of plays, just saying that there's weapons fire. If you have low fuel on your fuel bar, that starts going off the low fuel warning. The quick boost. There's a ending scenario kind of conversation. The sword. The main theme music, which kind of fades in. And then a thrust loop for when you're using your thrusters. I don't have a HUD color change, but I do have a couple HUD animations, which we'll see here. So if you get hit, there's a little, I can't show it with my mouse, but the little damage icon flashes on the HUD. Alternatively, if you shoot something, you see there's a hit icon that lets you know that you actually hit an enemy target in green there. So there's that. Blueprint communications, so direct communication through variable references. All of the ground turrets have this kind of energy shield around them, and you have to shoot this shield generator over here and destroy it in order to get rid of those shields. So you can see, as I've got this guy selected, he's got a reference to the shield generator in the level, whoops, as do all of these other turrets, if I can click on them. And then we'll look at that blueprint. So the shield generator actually uses a event dispatcher to let them know that it's been taken down. So here's the ground turret blueprint. There's a reference to the shield generator. And when the shield generator gets destroyed, it calls deactivate shields. So it's got this event dispatcher. It's also got like a hit event that tells the HUD to display the hit icon. It's a little bit kind of spaghetti code here, but I was adding a lot of features kind of in a bit of a hurry, so I didn't really bother keeping it too clean, so kind of apologize for that. And then on top of that, there's for a direct variable reference to an object, there's also a sound attenuator or a sound attenuation object here that all of the kind of spatial sounds use, like the enemy projectiles have a reference to it, and the ground turrets, and I think a few other things. So there's that sound attenuator there. Like I said, I've got these event dispatchers, so deactivate shields. When the character dies, I have it broadcast event called dead that makes all the turrets stop shooting. So we're in the ground turret blueprint here, and it stops them from ticking. And then anything, where is it at? Oh yeah, the projectiles, any of the projectiles that are in flight when you die, since there's so many of them flying around, it destroys all the ones that are in the air, so they're not all going to impact. So they just kind of blow up mid-flight before the camera fades out. So we've got a couple event dispatchers. There's definitely more, but like I said, I've got kind of a lot of spaghetti code here just because I added so many features and kind of a time crunch. So I kind of forget where some of them are, and there's definitely a lot to go through, but that kind of gives you the idea that I've got those in there. So yeah. Posted to itch.io. That one's pretty self-explanatory. You can see my screenshots on the page. I mean, you're probably on the page if you're watching this, but I guess I'll pull it up just for the heck of it. Trailer video, right over here, and the developer video, which I'm doing right now, so it says coming soon. I have this gameplay demo additionally that I recommend watching, just so it'll show all of the gameplay, since you can't play this game since you don't have a Linux system, and it is Linux only. So it's like 7 minutes, but I think it's worth watching, even on 2x speed if you need to. So yeah, there's that. Check those off. Okay, so for the additional requirements, I figure it's quite a bit more concise to see all the visuals in the gameplay demo, so I recommend watching that. I'll just kind of call out some of the things that you'll see in there that are kind of my idea for how it matches these things. So the game flow starts, ends, transitions in a cohesive manner through the story and in-game scenarios. So that's pretty tied to like how the game matches the theme, at least how I designed it. I kind of imagined that. So it starts out with your mission that you're accepting, with kind of the setup of how you think you're going in to, help secure this site that could potentially be used for, galaxy destroying weapons. And you're just a contract kind of gun for hire. So you go in and prepare the site for it to be taken over. And if they're friendly, then, no harm, no foul. You're just taking out automated turrets. But at the end, after you blow up all the turrets and presumably the fleet's about to show up, you get this little cutscene on the radio between one of the other contract pilots, and you find out that, in fact, they're not making weapons, but they're doing medical research. So it turns out that Antares, the company who hired you, is actually doing something shady, and it's that wait, are we the bad guys here? So they kind of plot to how they're gonna move forward. They're gonna try to live another day and maybe hit the transport as they're hauling some of this stuff out, and maybe recapture this stuff and take Antares down. So that kind of leaves it up to the imagination for maybe future missions, but just for the scope of this game, that kind of covers that. You'll notice in the video the transitions fade in and out on all of them, including the audio. So there's that. The enemies, when you shoot them, they'll kind of light on fire for a few seconds and then blow up, so they don't automatically disappear. And likewise, if you hit them with the sword, there's this kind of sparking effect for a few seconds and then they blow up. So there's that. I imagine it's got a consistent look and feel, so this kind of spacey thing, and it's maybe another planet, but it's got an atmosphere and dirt. So they're kind of in this valley here. All the buildings are kind of the same. They kind of match together with the materials. So talking about that, we've got what I imagine is kind of dramatic lighting. So it's like this kind of almost nighttime mission. Things are glowing. Your character's got lights. It's got a light in front of you. So there's the lighting bit. You saw already there's a lot of sound in this game, and I did some sound editing to kind of make those sound deep and dramatic for the explosions and such. Lots of models. So in my credits section, you'll see I actually found a set of buildings and just kind of changed the material to kind of match more the style that I'm using here. But those match really nicely because they were all mostly designed by the same person. And then, speaking of materials, I've got this dirt that you could imagine might be like a moon dust type thing or something. Animations, we already saw my character has a lot of animations. I thought that they were fairly smooth for a robot, really. QA, I'm not really sure what to say here, but I think most of the game plays pretty smoothly. And then, the environment, I don't think it's disruptive, but, that's subjective, so I'll leave that up to you. The game's objective, do they make sense? So win and lose condition, well, basically just don't die. You can see at the end of the gameplay demo, if you lose all of your HP, then the mech goes down and it catches fire and blows up, and you go back to the start screen so you can try again. And the win condition is the mission, like as long as you destroy all the turrets like you're supposed to in the mission, then you trigger that cutscene, that you actually accomplish that mission. I might have more in this game if there was going to be a full campaign and lots of missions, but I just kind of left it at that for now. So do with that what you will. Enemies, so I had a lot of artistic stuff I wanted to focus on, a lot of gameplay mechanic things I wanted to focus on. So I kind of kept it simple with the enemy turrets. So they have a little bit of AI to just kind of face the character slowly. They interpolate to rotate toward the position of the character, not too fast where they always hit you, and the projectiles move somewhat slowly as well, so you have time to dodge. But you might imagine that a covert site like this might have some automated turrets. So that's kind of my rationale behind that. There aren't any pickups, and that's kind of a deliberate choice because what are you going to do if your mech is damaged? You're not going to hop out and repair it. So nothing there in this style of game. HUD status, you saw the hit and damage icons that flash on the screen, the fuel bar, the HP, the amount of rounds you have left for your laser rifle, maybe it's charge or something, environmental aspects, etc. That's kind of up to your interpretation, but like I said, it's maybe another planet. Certainly you're not in this galaxy, you're out somewhere, but sometime in the future where they can travel between galaxies and such. Does the game make the player think? I was kind of thinking with a theme that hopefully it catches them by surprise. You think you're going in and being the good guy, and they find out that maybe this energy dense material can actually be used for something good, and you hadn't really thought of that because it sounded really volatile that it destroyed an entire galaxy. But we don't know all the details behind that because we heard that they were experimenting with it. So maybe they added something to it that made it dangerous. So hopefully that kind of gets the player thinking a little bit. Replayability for this is, the mission's going to be the same. The shield generator is going to be in the same location, turrets and such. But I kind of imagined that portion just to be that since it's kind of like a third-person shooter, there's always a new... Every time you play it, it's going to be new, how you have to dodge the lasers, and you might have some more success sometimes and less other times. And with the high-speed gameplay, there's certainly room for improvement. You can get really good and quick at beating all of the turrets, so hopefully should give some limited time replayability, at least a few times, I would think. And then I really like mech combat games, so I would recommend this to a friend, but that's up to your interpretation. So there's all of that.